So let's talk about some tumult today. Everybody's favorite conversation that's been happening in the metal space this last week, or it's been about almost 2 weeks now. Um, yeah, so Tumult made a surprise album drop on September 15th called The Enduring Spirit. $20 being announced it about a couple of days before it was going to drop, being like, hey, on Friday they're dropping the album. No waiting, no teasers, no single. It's going live. And then the pre-orders went live on Friday for the vinyl tape CD, as well as announcing that their demo from last year, Aperture of Body, is also going up for pre-order for vinyl reissues, which was cool. So that was like people's heads exploded. And so I wasn't going to make a video on this. I had no intentions of it. I just was going to show off the record when I got it in the mail, which, by the way, does not come out until next month. So I have not received it yet. And then a couple people have requested it, and it's just been like the hot topic. A lot of people messaging me on Instagram, talking to me about it, having conversations around it. I figured, all right, I'll make a video. Let's get some free content up here. Let's get some easy views of content on my channel. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, The Enduring Spirit came out September 15th. This is their fourth full-length album. Is that right? Because make just one, two, yeah, fourth full-length album. So Primordial Malignity came out on Blood Harvest in 2017. Before that, they had two demos, The Bottomless Perdition and The Molting, which is also on a comp. And then after that, they came out with this as what I claim to be a perfect 10 out of 10 old school death metal sound, Manner of Infinite Forms. This came out on 2018 on $20 Spin. A lot of people praise this as one of the best modern death metal albums to ever be written, especially in the old school death metal revival. I agree. Highly agree. And they are, Tumult admittedly is one of the bands that I credit for me to come back and really dig into the underground and try to find new bands, because I really wasn't up until this point. I was only listening to like the old school stuff. And then about a year and a half later, they came out with Planetary Clairvoyance, and I think this one, I like this one slightly better than Manner of Infinite Forms. A lot of people praise this too as just one of the best modern old school death metal revival albums to come out on $20 Span. And then that was it. It is now 2023. They've got a new album out. Like I said, they released a demo last year, and in that demo, you could tell where this band was headed. Yeah, you 100% could tell. It was very subtle and it wasn't very obvious, but you could tell that this band was going to be progressing their sound. And so I wasn't fully shocked when I heard the new album. Maybe not as shocked as some people, but there was a little bit of a shock element to there. So the new album, as I'm sure you know, because every YouTuber has already talked about it, everybody on social media has been talking about it, all the metal blogs have already done their reviews, etc. It's a progressive technical death metal album. They've added more technical elements to it in terms of the guitars, and then more proggy sound to it. However, it is still very much the band Tumult. The vocal style is still there, and Tumult is still very present in this record. However, they've progressed their sound. It's a little bit more of a vibrant, I guess you could say, sound. Still has that little bit spacey element to it, but they've honed in on their mid-period death sound. If you know what I mean by the whole death discography, then you understand what I'm saying. And no, I did not plan to wear my Darth Vader / death t-shirt today. That just straight up coincidence. I had no plan of doing that. That's pretty much what they're reminding me of here. As everybody knows, Death went a little bit more progressive in their sound, starting with, well, depending on who you ask, starting with Human, and then it kind of goes into, album after that, and then Sound of Perseverance is just straight up like proggy death metal, Chuck Schuldiner proggy death metal, period. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. They definitely took some influence from bands like Atheist and probably Death and added some elements into this, as well as some elements of Dream Unending, which, as everybody knows, Derek is in that band. I think it's just Derek, right? No, nobody else is in the band. Yeah, it's just Eric. But I don't think it's a dream unending album. Some people are just saying it's a straight up dream. It's not. It is not. There's definitely some elements to it on here, but it's not. It's still a progressive two-mold album. It is. It's very proggy sounding, especially on the very last track, which is an epic 11 and a half or so minute ending track. It's just got riffs and blasts, and there's just a lot of extraterrestrial space elements to it. It's a very, very good album, and I think it ends the album very, very good as well. So there, that spacey theme to it is still very much present there. Two Mold has done that on their last album as well. But yeah, this is very, very much a death metal record for sure, but it's just not that copy paste old school death metal sound that we are so used to hearing them do. Manner of Infant Forms and Planetary Clairvoyance, although they sounded different, and they were different, they're very still much a copy paste old school death metal revival album. They've completely strayed far away from there. It is now a more kind of modern technical death metal sound with that progressive elements to it. And they are wearing a lot of their influences on their sleeves here for what they're writing their music for. One of them was Van Halen. They made a story on their Instagram a couple of days after the album released. They were doing like an Ask Me Anything on their Instagram stories, and it came up. And it was like 4 different bands that were their influences that people probably wouldn't have suspected. And Van Halen was one of them. I can't remember the other ones. The story's gone now because they disappeared for 24 hours. So unfortunately, I don't have that reference. But Van Halen is on here. And now that I know that and I listen to this album, I slightly hear a little bit just in terms of the way that their guitar writing is and stuff like that. It's just very, very subtle. So challenge you to see if you can try and hear that same thing. I don't know if it's just my subconscious playing tricks on me or whatever, but I can definitely hear it. So I think that's cool. It's an instrumental. They've got some instrumental progressive death sounds on here. It's definitely got that atmospheric. It's got some, the melodies and stuff like that. It's a way more intricate death metal album than their past releases, and a lot of people are like, why? I want what you've already made, and I understand that, and I get that, and I think for me personally, this is my opinion, I am glad that they went and they made this change. I worried that they were gonna kind of just be in the mold, no pun intended, of the copy paste old school death metal revival, get a little bit boring, kind of sound samesies, and just make okay records from here on out. And I'm glad that they just, they canned that and they just did what they wanted and they moved on and they progressed their sound. There's more noodling, as I like to say, in the guitars, which it still has that signature two-mold cavernous sound as well. So that is not gone by any means. So in general, I think it's a very good album. I think it's their best album that they've made so far in their discography. And it hit me like a ton of bricks when the first song came on. That was when I just knew, like, oh my God, they completely changed their sound. Like, you can just tell almost immediately. The Perfect Memory, Phantasmavora is the first song, and like it's straight up pulverizing, pummeling you, but it's such a good song. You really start to hear the difference in the band, like really start to hear some of those more proggier elements in Willow Whispers, which is, one of my favorite songs on the album. And just like and then it just goes from there. Like I said, The Enduring Spirit of Calamity is the final track. It's 11 and a half minutes. It is an epic track. It's got a lot of elements thrown into it. It is very good. It's slightly, it's pretty much a progressive death metal track that you would expect for that. I think in terms of like, what is this band going to do going forward? I don't know. I think their opportunities are a little bit endless now. Like they've opened up this book of, hey, we're different sound now. We're going to be doing these different things, but still very much just tune mold in that cavernous sound. So we'll see. Or maybe they'll decide like, We don't want to write any more music. Who knows? I don't know. But I'm interested to see what's going to go on after this album. But it is a fantastic album. I love it. I like the prog music. Prog rock is some of my favorite music. And progressive technical death metal, progressive metal, death metal, whatever you want to fucking call it, is some of my favorite music. And this was a very welcoming difference to me personally. But I understand why people were, there's the people out there that are also really disappointed about it. So I get it. I totally get it. And not faulting you or anything like that, or saying your opinion sucks, because everybody hears things differently. But for me personally, I really, really like the album. So all things that you probably have already heard. Like I said, every other YouTuber, metal blogger, whatever, has already talked about this album. I'm super late to it. I was kind of hoping just wait to get the record and talk about it when I got the record, but whatever, I'll talk about it now. But I will still show off the record in a collection update. I'm excited to get it. I can't wait to listen to it. I'm tired of listening to it digitally. It's, for whatever reason, listening to streaming music and digitally is just not fun anymore. I really like having the physical media and listening to it, so I'm really excited to get it. I'm also excited to get the demo that they reissued. I did pre-order that as well. It's in the same package, so I haven't gotten it yet. I gotta wait for the other one to be ready, but I've noticed some people are already starting to get that. So it's coming. I'm excited about that. Also, the artwork is done by Pit of Bones, who did the last album. So fantastic artwork. I give that a perfect 10 out of 10. It also goes really well with the overall theme of the album too. So there's a lot of things about this album that I get why people don't really like it. But it's a very strong written, compositionally written album, and they're very artistic, and they're very talented musicians, and so I'm glad that they took that and they just was like, hey, there's a little bit of that jazz metal, death metal infusion here as well, very subtle, but yeah, it's a great album. I love it. I like what they've done with their change and sound. Also, if you're not familiar, they're from Toronto, Canada, or maybe just Canada. I don't know if they're all in Toronto. And the lineup consists of Derek, Max, and Payson. Derek is also in Dream Unending, and he did the new Outer Heaven album this year, although I don't know if he's actually full-time in the band anymore. And then who else? Max is also in some other stuff. He was in, I can't think of the band. I'm totally blanking right now. But yeah, 3-piece. They sound fantastic. I love this album. Interested to know what everybody thinks. I know there's going to be varying opinions, which, that's how it is with everything. But yeah. So that's pretty much all I had today. Just blabbing at the camera for 13 minutes. Let me know what you guys think of the album. It's fantastic. I love it. It's probably going to be... I don't know if it's going to be album of the year for me yet. There's still some other albums that are coming out this year that may take that top. But yeah, we'll see. I'll see you guys in the next one.